Do you ever wonder why we're here on earth, right? I always wondered, like, what was the purpose of human beings being here on earth? What's the purpose of my life? What's the purpose of your life? Like, why are we here? And I want to share some of my personal philosophies with you so that potentially, if you're looking at this, maybe it can, maybe it be something that you can resonate with. Maybe it'll help put things into perspective for you. Maybe we can start a dialogue about what and kind of fine tune this so as a community. But here's my philosophy. I believe that Earth is a spirit school, and there are other realms of existence. There's other places where spiritual beings, such as ourselves, live out their consciousness and their being, and Earth is one of those, right? And so I believe that we incarnate here in order to develop ourselves spiritually, right? And so let me explain, let me break it down, right? There's multiple reasons why we incarnate here. So imagine a hand, right? And you have one hand, but that hand has multiple fingers. So imagine the hand being God consciousness, right? I like to say God consciousness because I don't believe God is a person or a man or a woman or anything that can be attributed to a physical entity. God is a consciousness, right? And we all are God. So imagine this being God consciousness, and each of us incarnated, we are manifestations of God. We're just different manifestations of God consciousness, right? So we are all God. I am God, you are God, right? We are God. And so we manifested here as separate, right? Although we are one in another realm, we are one, but we manifest here on earth as separate physical entities in order to experience our existence in different ways, right? And so we all come here with different talents. We come with different gifts. We come with different experiences from past lives, different upbringings that we agree to, right? We come here with different ancestral lineage, right? We all come here with differences, right? And we're all unique. However, we incarnate here specifically to realize what it feel as God. What does it feel like to be these different things? What is that existence like? Because in the universe being perfect, right? There isn't that contrast there, right? When you go beyond this dimension, there isn't that. I imagine that there isn't that level of contrast if we were to go back to the existences that we came from, right? It isn't the same level of density and contrast that it is on earth. Like, just as a function of being here on earth, you are going to experience problems. I'm going to experience problems. As a matter of fact, if you're living, right? If you're present to the experience of living, it is a part of being human, right? Is problems, contrast, issues, right? Conflict, tension. That's just because that is the duality of this particular earth universe, right? You always have good and you have evil. You have bad and you have good. You have light and you have dark. Just look at any given day, right? If you live, I know some places they'll have different times of sunlight and moonlight, but on average, most people on the earth are experiencing a daytime and a nighttime, right? Where the sun rises and that's the daytime and that's the time to get all your stuff done and you can see, and the plants need light and we also need light from the sun, so on and so forth. And then once the evening comes, the moon rises, right? And the sun sets and it becomes dark, and then it's time to start winding down and time to get some rest and time to sleep. So there's duality here on this earth. And so we come here to experience duality. And so if you think of it like a gym, when you go to the gym, especially when you go for strength training, right, and you're lifting weights, right, you are taking a heavy weight and lifting it is causing tiny tears in the muscles, right? And that causes the muscles to regenerate and grow bigger, right? Because you put the muscles through that pressure, because you put that pressure and that tension on your body, you are now going to grow stronger. And so the same thing is for our consciousness. Our consciousness and our spirit is designed to grow through these earth experiences. What's the purpose beyond that? That's a great question. Let's discuss that together, right? Write down in the comments what you think. We can always speculate, but that's the dense nature of earth is what allows for us to grow in our spiritual consciousness as beings. And so we come here to alchemize the shadow, right? To alchemize the density, to alchemize the problems, right? You'll be hard pressed to find a human being on earth over the age of 30 who has not experienced some sort of trauma in their life. It's virtually impossible, right? And although you may not know about it, right, unless you talk to that person, but I promise you, 10 out of 10, anyone you talk to over the age of 30, they've experienced some sort of traumatic events in their lives. They've experienced some issues. They've experienced some problems, right? And so that is universal. And so it does, and problems and issues never stop. And the reason why is because they are actually gifts. They are gifts that are given to us in order for us to alchemize them into something greater, right? If you think about, I'm just looking at my notes here, right? So if you think about a diamond, diamonds are formed after a volcanic eruption, right? There's a process that happens with the volcanic eruption and the material that comes from that eventually forms a diamond. And so a volcanic eruption can be a really traumatic event, especially if you are in the path of the lava, right? And even if not, it is just the experience within itself of a volcano erupting. Just imagine seeing that in your mind. There's so much pressure. It's so hot. There's so much steam. It can kill, right? It is dangerous, right? And then it forms something like a diamond, right? It eventually regenerates and gives nutrients to the soil, right? So many amazing things come from experiences that could otherwise be traumatic. Another less dramatic example is when we have rain. I know this summer there wasn't a lot of rain, and there were some drought warnings. And once some rain started to come in the early fall, I was so happy because I knew that the trees needed rain. I knew that we needed rain. Like, the earth needs rain, it needs water in order for us to sustain ourselves. And so sometimes people look at rain as an inconvenience, right? Just a minor inconvenience, right? However, we need it, and it helps the plants to grow. It helps the soil. It helps to moisten the soil. It helps us. We need it, right? And so that's another example of how just using something that can be considered an obstacle or an inconvenience, it can actually contribute to growth because it helps the plants to grow. And so we're here to do similar things with our problems, with our inconveniences, with our traumas, right? The way that we do that is by self-reflection, journaling, being radically honest with ourselves, right? About the experiences that occur in our lives and why we're attracting them, and how can we shift our energy? How can we look at something with a different perspective? How can we look at the positives of a situation, right? All of these things, they're given to us in order for us to be able to then help ourselves and share stories that help someone else, right? Like, all of the things that I've experienced in my life have given me such a profound inner strength, right? Resilience, and an ability to embrace transformation, right? And so I'm like totally grateful for every bad thing that's happened in my life. Like, I'm grateful because it's made me who I am today, and it actually helps me to fulfill my purpose. I know it's wrapped up in my purpose, right? So I wouldn't be able to have those gifts if I wasn't here on earth, right? And that's what helps my soul to continue to grow, my consciousness to continue to grow. And that's what these sorts of problems or issues, they're designed to allow us to grow. And so each of us is going to go through a different process, right? Everybody has a different process, right? So there isn't a one size fits all human experience for every single person. Thank God. Thank God. There isn't a one size fits all human experience for every single person. I had to repeat that. And the reason why I say that is because one thing we like to do here on earth, and it's a function of culture, it's a function of religion, it's a function of society, it's a function of groupthink, right? Is that we try to put our viewpoint and our process, and we try to project that onto other people. Oh, you shouldn't be doing it like this. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should be doing this with your life. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that with your life. And you don't know that. We don't know what anyone is here for, right? We don't know what someone's spiritual contract is. We don't know what they agreed to before they came here into this lifetime, right? And life is supposed to be messy. It's supposed to be messy. It is this whole notion that like everyone is supposed to live this like pious, pure, clean life with no problems is so stupid. I swear it doesn't exist. Like, I know people try to front like they're living like that, you know, like they have everything together and they have no issues. It's bullshit. It is BS. It doesn't exist. It's not true. And just as a function of being here on earth, your life is gonna be messy. Even no matter how much you try, no matter how much you work at it, no matter what you do, there are gonna be things inside of your control and outside of your control that mess things up, right? Like if you have a house and you have people, you know, you live in your house with family and kids and family members and spouse and this and that, and your house is not gonna be clean every day. Somebody's gonna drop something on the floor, right? You're gonna have Cheerios in the couch, okay? Somebody's not gonna want to wash the dishes, right? You're gonna need to vacuum. You're gonna be like, didn't I just sweep? Now there's more dirt on the floor, okay, right? It's not always gonna be clean. The same thing is with life. Like there is no like permanent human sanitizer for life, right? So we're all supposed to have different experiences. Let people have their experiences. Let people be who they are. What love is about let me try to explain this. Love is about, it's unconditional, right? It's not about there's no like actual love, the vibration of love. There's no conditions to love because you are loved. I am loved no matter how many times we mess up, right? We are love. We actually are love. So depriving ourselves and other people of love just means that we're detaching from who we are, right? And loving someone is beyond the action sense. It's first of a frequency, and the frequency that you come from when you love yourself. Let's talk about self first, because that's the most important person to love, right? Is yourself, because then you can extend it to others. Loving self and then loving others is about acceptance. It's just about being. It's just about accepting and loving someone, yourself namely, beyond the flaws, beyond the mess, beyond what somebody did to you, beyond what somebody said about you, beyond what someone made you believe about yourself, beyond whether your hair is done or not, right? Beyond whether you gain 10 pounds or not, right? Beyond whether you're making as much money as you want to make or not, beyond whether you lost your job or you got a new one, beyond whether you don't want to have a job anymore, you want to start the business but can't get yourself to start it, beyond whether you meant to finish that book and you still haven't finished it, beyond whether your house is a mess, beyond whether you don't get along with your loved ones, beyond the fact that you keep eating Chick-fil-A and you want to stop. Hey, love is love beyond that. Love is love because of that. Because of that. It's because we are who we are in any given moment, in any given second, and we are accepting of that. We are unconditionally loving that person and all of the mess that comes with it. Because us being here on earth is a place of duality. We're also manifested here as human beings. We're part of earth, right? This flesh and blood, so we are duality. So there's always going to be the mess. There's always going to be the mess. And so let people have their process. Everyone has a different process. There's no one size fits all path for life. And we're meant to go through the mess so that we can elevate, so that we can continue to learn, love self and love others, right? Continue to strive for the frequency of love in our day-to-day interactions with ourselves and others, because it's difficult to do here on this earth, right? Because things and people begin on your nerves, right? And in the striving for that, in the striving for strengthening our souls and our consciousness, for elevating, that is what helps to elevate our spiritual consciousness, so that when we pass on, we have experienced things that we never experienced before as a spirit, right? We elevated spiritually, right? Hopefully we did, right? That's the challenge, right? So that when we pass on, we elevate as a spiritual being, right? We've mastered certain lessons. We've mastered certain skill sets, right? And talents, right? So next thing, right? No one person is normal. Normalcy is a lie. That goes back to what I said about letting people have the different processes. Normalcy is a lie. There is no such thing as normal. And the notion of normalcy and trying to shame whatever doesn't fit inside of a box, whatever doesn't seem normal, or whoever doesn't seem normal, it is toxic. And another word I use for toxic is it's a dark magic, because it's a psychological warfare tool to uphold this notion of normalcy. No one is normal. I promise you, no matter how they try to appear to seem normal, no one is normal, because there's no such thing as it, right? There's just this societal contract that was made up, right? That was put forth via culture and societal indoctrination and all of that. And so we try to aspire to it so that we won't be ostracized. But there's no such thing as normal. There's no normal life path, right? People, I'm looking at my notes, people just simply attempt to fit in or appear to fit in whatever those parameters are, but beneath the surface, everyone is unique. Some of us are naturally suited to be able to adapt to normalcy a little bit more than others based on the attributes that we incarnated with, but we are still all different and unique with different gifts. And what the normalcy does, what the normalcy situation does, is it I say it's dark magic because it causes people to edit themselves like way too much, to the point where they even forget what made them special. We can't be all cookie cutter, living the same life, living the same way, right? With the same kind of thoughts and ideas, and what is this notion about someone can't have a different idea? Someone can't have a different way of viewing life. Like, this is literally how we are. This is Earth. Like, everyone has different ideas. Everyone thinks different things. It doesn't matter. Some of them will tell you they do. Some of them will not, right? Everyone has something different as far as gifts that they were meant to deliver here in this lifetime. It all looks different. It doesn't, someone's gifts may not be apparent to you. Maybe you're not on the receiving end of that gift, right? But everyone has different gifts. And so this concept of normalcy and everyone kind of choosing between these three pathways that society set forth that's acceptable, it causes us to actually lose out on the unique gifts that spiritual being who incarnated as a human was meant to deliver here, because they tried to fit themselves into a box. They made themselves smaller to fit into that normal path, and now we don't get to enjoy the ripple effects of their gifts and their purpose and their talent, and they pass on without giving it. And so Earth is a spirit school, because I don't know that there'll be a time where we stop as groups of human beings. I don't know that there'll be a time where we stop trying to tell each other what to do or how to live, right? I think that's also a part of the duality is, can you be strong enough? Can you be self-aware enough? Can you do the work to be who you authentically are and who you are authentically meant to become without the approval of groups of people? Can you be centered enough in your spirit and in yourself to walk the path that you feel is right for you, even if it falls outside of the societal contract or the society that you find yourself within, right? And so just doing that is strengthening yourself spiritually, is elevating your spiritual contract, right? Because anything worth having, right, there's going to be some contrast. There's going to be a little tension, whether it's internal tension in between here that is eventually manifested outside of you, right? With the things, people, and circumstances that you attract. And lastly, the reason why it's important to know that normalcy is a lie. No one is normal or meant to be normal, and there's no such thing as normal because nobody is normal. The reason for us to embrace that and understand that is because the goal is not perfection. The goal is not to be a perfect person. It's not to have a perfect life. The goal is for progress, right? The goal is never to not have problems, right? I know that's often how we treat problems. Like, if I just didn't have to do this, if I just didn't have this problem, if I just didn't have this issue, let it go, because that's never happening, right? The day when we don't have problems will probably be when we transition and pass on. Then we may go somewhere where there's Perhaps there's no problems. Who knows, right? But we incarnated here in order to experience problems. There's the rub. We came here to experience problems. And also, of course, the happiness and the joy and the glory, right? Beyond just the problems. But we came here to have problems. We are supposed to have problems. We are supposed to have issues. We are supposed to have shortcomings. We are supposed to have weaknesses. We are supposed to have adversity. We are supposed to have trauma, right? Often major life traumas are things that we agreed to before we came here, and they were designed to help us use that to heal ourselves and others. And once they're alchemized, they become gifts to give to the world. Because once you heal, your story, it becomes wisdom. And everyone wants to hear your story. They want to know your wisdom because you have a unique wisdom that I don't have, right? And it may come out in different modalities. It may come out in different ways, right? It doesn't just have to be speaking or storytelling. It can be different ways, right? Your wisdom might be in the way you move your body. It might be in the way that you shoot a basketball. It might be in the way that you paint. It might be in the way that you raise your children. It might be in the way that you are great at making money, right? It might be in the way that you teach children, right, in school. It might be in the way that you heal people with medicine, right? It might be in the way that you do hair, right? The way that you do makeup, the way that you do nails, the way that you dress yourself, right? It's all wisdom. It's all healing to someone, and a lot of our life experiences are meant to form us in a way, just like that volcano gives us the natural material that's needed to create a diamond, right? The tension in our lives is for that, but sometimes we stay caught in that web, right, of that tension rather than alchemizing it. And so that's some of the things that I'm going to be speaking about on this channel, is how do you take that those experiences and alchemize them? Like, how do you actually do that? What are the different ways to do that? How can you stay focused on your unique gifts and your purpose, right? Despite all the things that society throws at you. How can you continue to move forward and deal with your problems and stay optimistic and stay in love frequency? How can you understand and know what your unique gifts are, right? What your purpose is, right? So that's some of the things that we'll discuss. I thank you and I love you. Hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Ashe and goodbye.